Hey there, Janae with Palin Projects here, and in this video we're going to be planting up some horseradish and a rhubarb. So we have that 6x6 bed. It mirrors the other 6x6 bed that I planted the honeyberries in, and I want to plant my rhubarb and my horseradish this year. So I've never grown horseradish. I have like pseudo grown rhubarb. It hasn't ever been my own rhubarb plant, but my grandma has had a plant, my mom had a plant, and my mother-in-law had a plant. So like pseudo, I've grown rhubarb. Horseradish is going to be a new game for me, but I'm excited for that. I'm excited to harvest that with you guys and make that into horseradish, the dipping sauce, or the dipper for steak. So, and have our own, fresh supply of horseradish. So we'll do that in the fall. The thing that I want to note, kind of a little bit about both, not so much rhubarb as horseradish, but kind of rhubarb too. They're kind of invasive, or at least horseradish can be. Rhubarb will just spread, and they're easily dug up, the babies are. So I wouldn't really call them invasive, but horseradish can be. It'll basically take over a bed if you let it. So that's why I am putting it into this raised bed, and if it does take over, great. If it doesn't, I'll just still try and save a root back to plant next year. So just because our winters are a little weird and sometimes things can die. So the rhubarb though, I'll let it take over and grow as much. I have a surprise for you guys. In a later video, it might be another legacy plant. We'll see. But, let's go plant up this square bed. I do already have 2 plants in it that I didn't video the other day just because it was raining, but I'll walk you through that as well. So let's get into it. This is my horseradish plant. Root, whatever. Ooh, there's a big bug. Horseradish comes from the root, so I'll have to dig up the plant. But basically I got a root from my local nursery and put it in this pot this spring. Just like that, and it's growing. So you can see all the roots on it. I don't think it's done anything else. Oh, it had all those roots too, which is exciting. Cool. One good thing about horseradish is it's typically hardy or resilient, so I'm not super concerned about it. But again, yeah, cool. All those roots should become rhizomes or roots, thicker roots, horseradish roots. But I'm just gonna create a hole here. That looks pretty good. And toss in some Biotone starter fertilizer and fill back in. I think it's going to be much happier outside of that pot. So I just potted it up in compost, so this is just straight compost that it was potted up in. And what I'm planting it in is the 50-50 mix that we fill all of our raised beds with. And I'll just work that compost in. Voila! There is the horseradish, which is exciting. Here and right there, I planted 2 sweet potato slits. I just popped them in the ground last night while it was raining. I didn't have any Biotone out here with me, so what I'm gonna do is just kind of pour it around and work it into the soil. Voila! Okay, the final item here today is rhubarb. So again, I bought a rhubarb root from a local nursery and just potted it up in some compost. Let me dig a hole here. I did bring a shovel out, but why use a shovel when you can use your hands? Okay. I did not intend for these plants to stay in these buckets for this long, but again, life takes over. So this is basically, yeah, that's root. The root of rhubarb plant. I'm gonna plant it about here. So it was overplanted in the bucket, but again, that was temporary, or it was supposed to be temporary. I honestly did not plan on it staying in that pot for as long as it did, but there's some Biotone starter fertilizer. Toss a little bit more in here. And then just backfill with, again, the 50-50 mix and the compost. Ooh, that compost was wet. I was holding on to some moisture. Yikes. Cool. So again, rhubarb can be harvested as soon as the stalks grow. The leaves are poisonous, so don't eat those. It's the stalks that you want. So this little itty bitty stalk here is a rhubarb plant and is the part that you would actually eat. We have in the past harvested a whole bunch of rhubarb, cut it up, and froze it. It makes great for jams, jellies. I really don't know the difference there. They're both great on toast. Syrups, crisps, pies, you name it. And honestly, there's nothing better than pulling out a gallon Ziploc bag in the middle of winter and making a nice rhubarb pie. I mean, it's fantastic. So you can harvest on rhubarb as soon as the stalks get big enough. I probably will let this sit a year before I harvest off of it. But yeah, I mean, the more you harvest, the more you get from rhubarb is the deal there. So, I mean, once it's established, it'll produce for you, that's for sure. A lot of people give it away because it produces so much in our area that they can't, or they've saved enough. So so that's the rhubarb. There's a truck coming by, or a car. There we go. The sweet potatoes, another truck. Sorry guys. The sweet potato slips, so it's a slip. It comes as like a miniaturized plant, and it had about the slips had about this much of a root, and then the leaves on them. And so I just plopped them in the ground, and I'll give them a couple months to grow, and then we'll dig them all up and harvest sweet potatoes off of them, and then let the sweet potatoes cure and then be able to eat them. Justin really likes sweet potato fries, so I'm excited for that, for a harvest. And same with the horseradish. So I'll let that that guy grow to its full capacity, water it, and in the fall we'll dig up that, harvest the roots and cure them, and save them for whenever we need them. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and we'll see you in the next project. Thanks guys, bye.